23 worst cars from the 60s and 70s. The 1960s and 1970s were iconic decades for the automotive industry. While many people remember these years for producing some of the most beloved and legendary cars, not every vehicle that rolled off the assembly line during this era was a success. In fact, some were downright terrible. Today, we're diving into the 23 worst cars from the 60s and 70s, vehicles that for various reasons have earned a place in automotive history for all the wrong reasons. 1. Chevrolet Corvair. Next up, we have the Chevrolet Corvair. Debuting in 1960, it initially seemed like an innovative choice. However, its design and engineering decisions, particularly placing the air-cooled engine in the rear, led to serious handling issues. The first-generation Corvair became infamous for its safety problems, resulting in numerous lawsuits against General Motors. The Corvair's story is a classic example of great ideas gone wrong. 2. Subaru 360. Let's start with the Subaru 360. Released in the late 1950s and running into the 1960s, this was Subaru's very first production car. Although it marked the company's humble beginnings, the Subaru 360 was far from impressive. This tiny microcar, often ridiculed for its unattractive design, didn't exactly win over the masses. Despite its looks, Subaru managed to sell nearly 400,000 units over a 12-year period. It's quirky, yes, but not a vehicle most people would want to be seen in. 3. Peel Trident. Moving on to a real oddball, the Peel Trident. Following the equally quirky Peel P50, the Trident was a one-seater with a peculiar large glass top, supposedly for better visibility. With its three-wheel setup, this car was more strange than practical. Only around 45 units were ever made, making it a rare, albeit strange, piece of automotive history. 4. Plymouth Valiant Wagon. The Plymouth Valiant Wagon is remembered as one of the ugliest station wagons ever produced. Debuting in 1960, it had a very basic, almost utilitarian design. Despite its lack of aesthetic appeal, it was known for its spaciousness. The first-generation model only lasted until 1962, when it was replaced by a new design. 5. Trabant 601. In East Germany, options were limited, and the Trabant 601 was one of the few available cars. Developed as an affordable vehicle, its poor build quality and unattractive design didn't help its reputation. Despite this, over 2.8 million units were produced during its 26-year run, making it a significant, if not exactly beloved, part of automotive history. 6. Reliant Robin. Another strange three-wheeler, the Reliant Robin, was produced in the UK during the 1970s. Its unique design and handling, influenced by the three-wheel drivetrain, made it one of the most mocked cars of its time. Still, it remains an iconic, if somewhat infamous, example of British automotive history. 7. Rambler Marlin. The Rambler Marlin was designed to be a luxurious car, but its styling, particularly the rear end, left much to be desired. With design elements that seemed rushed and some questionable interior features, the Marlin never quite found its footing in the market, making it more of a curiosity than a success. 8. Ford Anglia. The Ford Anglia, a popular family car in the UK, saw various iterations over the years. By the time the last model was released in 1962, it had developed an awkward appearance, particularly with its crooked roofline and front end. Despite this, nearly 80,000 units were sold before it was replaced by the Ford Escort in 1967. 9. AMC Gremlin. AMC had its fair share of questionable cars, and the Gremlin was certainly one of them. Introduced in 1970, this subcompact car was known for its poor handling and design flaws. With a weak engine and numerous structural issues, including rust problems and a tendency for the rear window to shatter, the Gremlin is remembered as a failure. 10. Dodge Charger, 4th generation. While the Dodge Charger is generally known as an iconic muscle car, the 4th generation, released in 1975, was a notable exception. Stripping away the aggressive design features that had defined the Charger, This version looked more like a family car than a powerhouse. Fans were disappointed, and Dodge quickly replaced it after just 3 years. 11. Rambler Cross Country. The Rambler Classic line included the cross-country station wagon, which, while practical, suffered from an awkward rear design. This model didn't last long, but it remains an example of how sometimes functionality comes at the cost of style. 12. Hillman Imp. Produced by the British Roots Group, the Hillman Imp was another economical car that missed the mark in terms of design. It was plagued with issues from the start, and while some enthusiasts now see it as underrated, its styling and reliability problems were a significant drawback in its time. 13. Mercury Cougar, second generation. The Mercury Cougar initially found success when it debuted in 1967 as a competitor to the Ford Mustang. However, by the time the second generation rolled out in 1971, the design had become uninspired. It lacked the charisma of its predecessor, leading to a short production run. 14. AMC Pacer. The AMC Pacer is another car known for its quirky looks. Launched in the mid-1970s, it was an odd, compact, two-door vehicle that didn't win many hearts. Despite its less than attractive appearance, the Pacer has become something of a cult classic among certain collectors. 15. FSO Polonaise. The FSO Polonaise was significant in Eastern Europe, but its design, which resembled a less appealing Fiat 125, left much to be desired. While it sold over 1 million units due to its affordability, its appearance never won it any style awards. 16. Lincoln Versailles. The Lincoln Versailles was an attempt by Ford to capture a luxury market post-1970s oil crisis. Unfortunately, it looked too similar to the less expensive Ford Granada, and customers were not willing to pay the premium. Its lack of unique features or design elements doomed it to failure. 17. City Car. The City Car, one of the first electric cars from the 1970s, was more of an experiment than a practical vehicle. With a cramped interior and a very limited top speed, it didn't offer much in terms of performance or comfort. However, it did pave the way for future developments in electric vehicles. 18. Checker Marathon. Known more for being a taxi than a private car, the Checker Marathon mimicked the style of 1950s American sedans like the Chevrolet Bel Air. Despite its long production run, it never achieved the status of a desirable vehicle and eventually led to Checker's downfall. 19. Rolls-Royce Camargue. Even luxury brands like Rolls-Royce can have missteps, and the Camargue is proof of that. Launched in 1975, it was the most expensive production car of its time, but was criticized heavily for its unattractive design. Despite its hefty price tag, only a little over 500 units were sold. 20. Datsun F10. The Datsun F10, essentially the second-generation Nissan Cherry, marked Nissan's first foray into the North American market with a front-wheel drive car. Unfortunately, it didn't make a great impression, with oversized headlights and awkward styling that failed to capture the imagination of buyers. 21. Ford Mustang Tattoo. The Ford Mustang is an American icon, but the second generation, known as the Mustang the Coup, is often remembered as one of the worst. Sharing components with the infamous Pinto, it lost much of the performance and style that had made the original Mustang a success. 22. Austin Allegro. The Austin Allegro was an attempt at innovation, focusing on fuel efficiency and interior space. However, the unusual design, including a square steering wheel to save space, made it unattractive. Despite being the 5th best-selling car in Britain at one point, it has a less than stellar reputation today. 23. Volvo 262C. In the late 1970s, Volvo attempted to break into the luxury coupe market with the 262C. Although it was designed in collaboration with Italian coach builder Bertoni, it retained the boxy style of other Volvo models, making it less appealing than the sleek Italian coupes it tried to emulate. And there you have it. These are 30 of the worst cars from the 60s and 70s. Despite their flaws, each of these vehicles has its own unique story, making them interesting pieces of automotive history. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cars. And let us know in the comments, what's your pick for the worst car of all time? We'd love to hear your thoughts.